million worth of trading losses have been occasioned in the first 9 months of this year. As a caucus, when we run our numbers, we can project that it's going to get to about $300 million by the end of this year. 214 million in losses under the Gold for Reserve scheme is just 9 months. But there are a few other issues under that we want to draw your attention to as part of our preliminary remarks. First is to explain to you how these losses are being occasioned. Small-scale miners will not sell unless they are paid true global market prices, even if a slight discount is given to them, and at an exchange rate which the forex bureaus use. Second, the Gold Board therefore has to pay miners at real market value. However, Gold Board then sells the dollars it receives from offshore buyers back to the Bank of Ghana at the BOG or interbank rate, which is a weaker rate. Gold Board protects its books by passing the exchange rate losses directly onto the Bank of Ghana. So this is not a market fluctuation problem. This is a system that is designed to make losses and for the state to bleed, so intermediaries will remain secure and profitable. For those of you who recall, when the Gold Board Act was being passed, we extensively outlined why the regulator should be decoupled from a commercial entity that could do this and make profit. And you recall that we suggested that it would be better to have a limited liability company with capital so that this doesn't happen. This is exactly what has happened now. And so far, $214 million of loss, going towards $300 million by the end of the year. The third issue that we want to draw your attention to. This is not how the original structure of the Gold for Reserves program was designed. Now let's remind the nation about what the original structure was. It was a sovereign reserve building tool to help Ghana accumulate physical gold, strengthen our balance sheet, reduce reliance on foreign currency borrowing, and gradually stabilize the cedi. Under the original design, which was introduced by the NPP, Ghana's reserves increased from 8.7 tons to 31 tons in just 2 years. And no losses accrued because BOG bought physical gold directly for its reserves and not through intermediaries like some of who we have outlined, and not for speculative purposes. Now the model has been changed contrary to the advice and all the advocacy that we did. And the Bank of Ghana, under the new structure, under the reset, they have ceded their mandate to the Gold Board, and Gold Board has also ceded to a private company, Bawa Rock Limited, which now operates primarily as a trading company, not a reserve builder. And the moment we shift from holding strategic gold to trading gold, pricing and FX risks will appear. And the taxpayer in the end is the one who has to pay the $300 million at the end of the year. Now, despite unprecedented volumes of gold passing through Gold Board, our reserves have increased only from 31 tons to 38 tons, which undermines the past 22%, just 7 tons after all this theater. Under the MPP, without this theater, we increased by 256%. This is not prioritization of reserves, it's prioritization of rent seeking. This is where media attention should be focused. And that's why we're saying that these are preliminary remarks that we are beginning to draw your attention to, and we'll share more with you as we go along. Now, for those who just hear $214 million or $300 million and consider it just as a figure, let us refuse the temptation to treat this matter as an abstract number. $214 million, that is from the beginning of the year to September, not the full one. It could have built 12 fully equipped Agenda 111 district hospitals, which the MPP started and which this administration has refused to continue so far. It could have built 30 modest hospitals or 40 to 60,000 boreholes in many villages across this country, providing clean, safe water to villages, schools, clinics, and farming communities. $214 million could have employed many teachers and nurses who are struggling to catch the eye of the government to pay or to issue the necessary financial clearance so that they could be recruited and paid. So when the government tells you that they have lost $214 million, it's not just a number. It's jobs, it's roads, it's people's lives that they have lost. But that is not the full story. Again, if you will remember, when the Gold Board Act was being passed, we spoke extensively about the need for traceability so that Ghana's money will not be used to fund the purchase of Galamsey gold. Now, while the financial tragedy unfolds, another crisis is deepening. Illegal mining is continuing at unprecedented levels. You are observing on your television sets the destruction still of our forests and water bodies. Yet, we are told that the purchase that is going on is not a purchase of Galamsey gold. If you check the data, the export numbers by the large-scale exporters hasn't changed much. And today, there are no other exporters in town except the Gold Board. So who is buying the Galamsey gold? It's a question out there that as we go along, we'll begin to point direct answers to. What is even more worrying is that in the face of this devastation, what we are seeing are statements being issued from the Gold Board and the Bank of Ghana trying to obfuscate. They rely on some words in the original IMF draft to suggest that this is speculative or that this is a significant downside risk. We must be clear. A loss of $214 million has already been made. It will be about $300 million at the end of the year. And the people of Ghana cannot be taken for fools by some long-winded statements seeking to parry this tragedy away. Colleagues, the truth about this government is that they have not introduced any superior economic ideas to governance. All that they've been doing is rebranding, renaming all things that have been done, and sometimes even hiding the details until we, in the minority, call it out for the Ghanaian public to see. Now, today, they are relying on this rebranding, but rebranding without the requisite competence and the requisite attention to the structural issues will be disastrous in the end. And so we ask, so when the IMF is no longer here by the middle of 2026, and they have finished rebranding the ideas that they inherited, which new ideas will they be introducing? Which old ideas will they now be left with to copy? And who will be shepherding them? The previous administration in January 2025 handed over to them an economy that was far larger, far stronger, far less burdened by debt servicing than what they handed to us in January 2027. Their singular instinct has been to capitalize on the architecture that was innovated by the NPP. Gold for reserves, gold for oil, gold for forex are examples. And now, even that one, they are running into massive losses that you, the taxpayer, will have to pay at the end of the day. What have they contributed? Nothing. Just rebranding. They simply took the PMMC and the work that MIF was doing and decided to restructure it under the Gold Board and quickly pass a bill to grant it sweeping powers over all small-scale gold, plus 20% of all other produced gold by large-scale miners. Sadly, without the technical competence required to operate this complex structure that they wanted to do, we are saddled with $214 million debt, now moving towards 300. And it doesn't matter whether they tell you it's not Gold Board loss, it's Bank of Ghana loss, or it's Bank of Ghana loss, it's not Gold Board. At the end of the day, the Ghanaian taxpayer is the one who has to pay. And so as a minority, on behalf of the people of Ghana, we are demanding the following: a bipartisan parliamentary inquiry into the circumstances under which the Republic of Ghana has lost $214 million, heading to $300 million, to be done here by the Parliament of Ghana on a bipartisan basis, as I mentioned. And we're asking for a parliamentary ad hoc investigative committee with power to subpoena all contracts, licenses, intermediaries, including this Bawa Rock monopoly that this morning we have informed you about. Under this bipartisan inquiry, we will be expecting the Bank of Ghana and the Gold Board to publish the fee structure, the pricing formula, the aggregator selecting criteria, and all foreign exchange arrangements that they have tied to this scheme, which has led to this loss. There are also environmental issues that have to be dealt with. And one of the things we'll be asking for is a suspension of permits in forest reserves and the introduction of serious measures on traceability. Because as at now, we have every reason to believe that state money is being used to buy Galamsey gold. Also, we are expecting the governor of the central bank and the chief executive of the Gold Board to appear before the committee as other persons who will be invited and to provide all the information that is required for the Republic to understand in detail what has happened and to put measures in place to ensure that it doesn't happen again. And where negligence or corruption is proven, prosecutions must follow, and all recoverable funds must be clawed back to the state. This crisis, colleagues, is not about politics. It's about whether Ghana still stands as a guardian of the resources that we have been given, and we have the ability to use it for generations unborn, or whether temporary gains will lead us to irresponsible behavior that leads us into debt and at the same time destruction of our environment. To the people of Ghana, it is in your name and on your behalf that we are doing this. To our chiefs, faith leaders, market women, students, unions, civil societies, academia, and the diaspora, your voices are the only force left to defend this democracy, to defend this republic, to defend this country. Fellow Ghanaians, gold may glitter, but the truth has to endure beyond today. May history record that when our gold was taken and our rivers were poisoned and our future was mortgaged, we all stood up in a bipartisan way to find out the causes, to put in place the plugs, and to hold accountable the persons who have made this happen. This is not a moment for spectators. It's a moment for all of us as citizens to rise and be part of the solution. I thank you for your time, and if there are questions, I'll take them now. A quick summary in Chi for our colleagues in Chi. Anyano mebone tofa uchi kakra sani amunim no nka braid ye yedi bronya tinko bia ofie nemom nema bi koso a ehwo ahia se nyina ye befi akwantum na yasan ba edi kan IMF ama Ghana nyina ate ase se 50 January this September no Ghana ya boka $214 million ewo gold a enyuma ku ahodo Bank of Ghana ni Gold Board omo eto edi bia boa ye reserves ana omo to aton na gold ye ton boka ya boka $214 million ye cry odom kuma mu no de se mo be kai a brom di Gold Board emra no ba March ene start ball kokose nhihye na o ma hihye no.
That was the Member of Parliament for Member Kojo Oppong Nkrumah addressing the media regarding the operations of the Gold Board and a loss of $214 million. Is it a loss by the Gold Board or a loss by the Bank of Ghana? The minority in Parliament is demanding clarity on this and asking that whichever institution or whose operations led to this loss is held accountable. The minority insists that whether or not it is a loss incurred by the Bank of Ghana or the Gold Board, it does not understand why the sale or trade of gold board should result in a loss. They also did mention a name, suggesting that this person was, if you like, a sole trader along that particular value chain of gold trade in the country. Well, wait to see if there will be a response, because the CEO of the gold board, Sami Jemfi, has so far responded to a number of issues since news of that loss broke out. And we'll see if he is going to respond to the minority's press conference. Although the minority did mention his own earlier response and how he sought to address the issue as put out by the IMF.